This simple entry created by AI using just the ADX and the highest price was able to produce this amazing backtest. Hi friends, if we haven't met, I'm Lisa, a data scientist turned algorithmic trader, and today I'm going to walk you through the step-by-step process on how I built this very simple and profitable strategy combining AI and some best practices in algo trading. Hey ChatGPT, can you give me a breakout strategy that I can use and duplicate in Strategy Quant X? And this is what ChatGPT came up with. It looks like a pretty simple strategy. We've got an ADX filter and a breakout entry. So we're entering when the ADX is less than 20, and we're also adding a filter of the high is greater than the highest high of the last 10 bars, and we're not going to enter straight away. We're going to use a buy stop, and the price is going to be the highest high of the past 10 bars. And the opposite conditions is for the sell entry. We're still looking for when the ADX is low, but now we're going to go with when the low is the lowest of the past 10 bars. And we're also using a sell stop. It's recommending an ADX look back period of 15. We're going to use 10 bars to check the highest and lowest price, and the level is 20. I've gone ahead and created this strategy in Algo Wizard in Strategy Quant already, because this is not the first time I'm using the software. I'm well familiar with it. So this process took about 10 to 15 minutes. You can see the logic here is exactly the same as what I showed you before. ADX of 15 is less than 20. You've got the highest high of the past 10 bars, and the same for the short entry, which is the lowest lower of the past 10 bars. That is the trading signal. And if we swap over to the long entry, you can see we are trading with a stop order, not a market order, and we're using the formula, the highest high of the past 10 bars. Now, the strategy suggested by ChatGPT did not have a profit target or stop loss. I do like the idea of using a profit target and stop loss. It helps me sleep at night. So I've added here just randomly 200 pips and 100 pips for the profit target and stop loss. And the values are exactly the same for the short entry. Instead of the highest high, we're using the lowest low, and the same values for the profit target and stop loss. If you're a good trader, you might want to check out Darwinex Zero. If you're not familiar with them, they are a platform designed to reward good traders. You can get a simulated 100k account to trade and earn money from your trading. Currently, there are a total of 4 different ways to make money in Darwinex. In silver stage, you can get between 30 and 375k in allocation, and you can keep it for 3 months. In a gold stage, where you can receive up to 500k in allocation and keep it for 6 months. Then there's investor capital, which can get into the millions and millions of dollars. And then there's the 100k permanent allocation, which comes in 2 different flavors, the instant allocation and the performance-based allocation. All these 4 different options are stackable, so you can get silver, gold, investor capital, permanent allocation, all in the one account. I've personally been trading with Darwinex for a year and a half. I've received multiple payouts from them and made it to Darwinia Gold. If you're a trader and want to make some extra money, then I have a discount code below if you decide to sign up. Thanks Darwinex for sponsoring this video. Okay, right after I created that strategy in Strategy Quant, they released a brand new software version. One of the main changes is this brand new button here, the AI Wizard. So let's test it out. This is my prompt. You can see I added create a strategy for the MetaTrader 5 hedge, and then the rest of the text is what I copied from ChatGPT earlier. It's gone and created this pseudocode for me, and now I'm waiting for it to translate the pseudocode over to Algo Wizard. While that's running, I went in and logged into the portal to check my usage, and you can see that used up 26 credits. I've done 2 queries so far. So far I've used up 52 credits out of the 2,000 credits that you're given. Now I've got 2 files. In the first file was the strategy that I created myself using the Algo Wizard, and I did that manually. And then on the right hand side in the purple, I've got the AI Wizard. So let's compare exactly side by side and see what the differences are. Did I make a mistake or did the AI make a mistake? First of all, we're looking at the trading signals, and I can see the first line is exactly the same. I've got ADX less than 20. Now in the Algo Wizard, it does specify that this is the main chart, but technically, functionality wise, both are exactly the same. We've got the highest high of the past 10 bars, which is exactly the same. For the short entry, both are exactly the same as well. So from a trading signal perspective, that's pretty good. Next, let's look at the long entries. Both are using stop orders, which is correct. Both are using the highest high of the past 10 bars, which is correct. Now, I did not specify a take profit or stop loss in my prompt. So that's why you see at the bottom, you've got the profit target. They've chosen an ATR-based profit target, whereas I chose the fixed value profit target, which is okay because I didn't specify that in the prompt. I did notice that they have bars valid as 1, whereas I've got bars valid as 0, and we both have replaced existing order. At the end of the day, the functionality is exactly the same for both of these, because for every single bar, if you're going to generate new signals, then the old signal is just going to replace the new signal. So no functionally different there. And for the short entry is exactly the same. Again, we are using a stop order using the lowest low of the past 10 bars, and both the AI Wizard and my manual strategy are both exactly the same. Okay, for this very simple example, the strategy quant AI and my manual strategy was exactly the same. I will be diving into the strategy quant AI in future videos. But for now, I'm going to continue using my manually created strategy. And so far, we've got an entry. Great. But what kind of exit should we use for this strategy? I don't know. Take profit, stop loss? I don't know. So let's allow strategy quant to make that decision for us. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the ADX period from 15 to something else. I'm going to leave 20 and 10 alone for now because I don't want to make too many tweaks to this particular strategy. I'm going to let strategy quant pick the exit and the take profit and stop loss values. To turn our strategy into a template, first up the top, select settings, and you need to make sure that this is turned on. So let's close that, which will allow us to create a template. Now I've already done this and I'll show you exactly what I did. On the right hand side under variables, click that and you can see I've created a whole bunch of variables. So the top ones came with the strategy, and I've created 3 at the bottom. I've created an ADX value, the TP, which means take profit, and the stop loss, which means stop loss. And all these are of the type int, which is short for integer, which means these are whole numbers. And don't worry about the values I've got on the right hand side here, because we are going to override them. So if I close that and go over to my long and short entry, notice at the bottom, instead of a number, I've got the value TP, which means for take profit, and the stop loss, which is the variable that I created before. Same for my short entry. I changed the number to take profit and stop loss variable. For the trading signals, it is exactly the same as before, but now I've got it 2 different lines. The random condition for the long exit, so strategy quant can decide whatever it wants to insert here. And for the short, I'm going to do the opposite, which means the negated condition, the opposite of the long exit. I've also gone and created a brand new tab at the start, and this logic is executed once only at the start of the Expert Advisor initialization. And here we are just going to set up our take profit, stop loss, and our ADX value. And notice here I've got a very special formula. So here we are going to create a random number. But see here, it's got 30, 30, and 50. I don't want strategy quant to just make up any random numbers. I want to control the ranges that it will come up with. So I want it to be anything between 30 and 300, and I want to jump up in steps of 50. So the first one might be 30, second one will be 80, and then whatever 80 plus 50 is, yeah, let's go with that. So the language that we're going to use is we're going to go 30, which is the start, 300, which is the end, jumping up by 50. And that's exactly what you see here, 3,350 for the take profit. For the stop loss, I do want it to be smaller, so that's why I've got here 3,250. And for the ADX value, we're going from 5 to 20 in steps of 5. Now I've got the template. What I'm going to do is take that template and feed it into the Pineapple workflow. And this is something I created and I share it with the members of my Algo Lab community, and it incorporates a lot of the best practices in algo trading. So you've got the standard build, and you've got multiple out of sample steps, and you've got other robustness steps like multiple Monte Carlo as well. And the final output of this entire workflow is robots that we can pick from that have passed all the different checks. This is what came out of the workflow. I didn't run it for very long, maybe a few hours, and you can see the output. This is ordered by the most profitable down to the least profitable. And let's grab this USD Japanese yen pair, which is the best for the USD Japanese yen pair, and take a look at this particular strategy. It did pass all my Monte Carlo checks and it looks okay. Let's bring it over to MetaTrader and run a backtest. I'm using MetaTrader 4 here, and we're going from 2008 to 2025. And the chart isn't the perfect chart. It's definitely got periods of drawdown, but overall it does seem profitable. I make sure I'm using a tick data so I get 99.9% modeling quality. I'm not a fan of the way MetaTrader does reporting, so let's import this into Quant Analyzer, which is a totally free software. And because this is a trend following breakout strategy, I expect the winning percentage to be lower, and it is, so it's only got a 25% win rate, but that's okay because our average win is $100, whereas our average loss is only $27. And typical of most trend following systems, we do see a high maximum consecutive loss. So we're seeing here 22 trades in a row of losers. I don't know about you, but I would honestly struggle mentally with the psychology of trading and then seeing 22 losers in a row. That's why I'm not a discretionary trader. I just can't handle that kind of losing streak. Let's take a look at the yearly performance, and the past few years have been profitable. This year we're struggling a little bit so far at a currently loss of $72.32, but there's still 3 months left, so we might be profitable if we were to trade this strategy. These stats look okay, but what does the actual strategy look like now that strategy Quant has gone and picked the values for us? I've gone and loaded the strategy back into Algo Wizard. You can see the take profit value, which we had before, was a random number. Strategy Quant has gone and picked 130. Seems quite reasonable, and I really like the stop loss here. So the stop loss is much smaller at 30 pips, so I like that. And the ADX value is 20. Okay, I'm okay with that. Let's take a look at the entry and exit criteria. The exit criteria is probably a bit more complex than I would like. It's got the linear weighted moving average. You've got some highs, lows, some SSMAs, and open M, whatever that is. And I can see that the long exit signal is opposite the short exit signal. You might say at this stage, based on everything you've seen so far, I've just gone and cherry-picked some strategies that work. I've hidden the losing strategies. But actually, there is a lot you can learn from this screen right here. It's super important when you're using software that can generate strategies for you not to force it. Don't make a strategy work when it's not going to work. And how do we not force it? First of all, use simple logic. So the logic here makes sense. We're using ADX and a breakout of the highest or lowest price. If you think about it, that makes sense from a breakout strategy. Second of all, incorporate the best practices of algorithmic trading in your workflow. So the Pineapple workflow that I'm using, it's got small in sample, multiple out of sample that are big. You've got multiple Monte Carlo and other robustness tests. And I didn't run this for weeks and months to try to force a strategy when there was none. I only ran it for a few hours. Being a breakout strategy, I knew that this strategy was most likely going to work on the US Japanese yen and gold and potentially some other Japanese yen pairs, but most of the other 27 currency pairs are probably not going to work. I still fed them into this process, so I didn't run the pineapple workflow just on USD Japanese yen and gold. I ran it on the 28 Forex pairs and gold, including Aussie CAD, Euro CAD, Euro USD, Pound USD. And because this is such a thorough workflow incorporating a lot of the best practices in algorithmic trading, none of the other currencies came out in the final stage. They all fell and were filtered out in the multiple out of sample and in the Monte Carlo. And it's great to see that the final strategies generated out of the workflow were mostly gold and USD Japanese yen. This tells me that the strategy itself is sound. The entry of using a low ADX and the highest high or the lowest low is sound and solid. Regardless of what kind of exit you use, it's profitable over so many different instances for both gold and USD Japanese yen. Thanks, ChatGPT. That was a pretty good strategy. If you liked that strategy, then don't forget to watch this one where I show you another strategy also created by ChatGPT. Thanks. Bye.